The notification came through at 2:47 on a Tuesday afternoon, and I had to read it 3 times before my brain actually processed what it said. Senior Project Manager. Effective immediately, pending your acceptance. I was standing in the parking garage of our office tower in downtown Calgary, my coat half on, my laptop bag sliding off my shoulder, and I started laughing. Not a polite laugh. The embarrassing kind, the one that bounces off concrete walls and makes a stranger by the lighter glance over. I didn't care. I had been working toward this for 6 years. 6 years of 7 a.m. starts and skipped lunches and driving home in the dark while the radio played songs I couldn't remember, because my brain was still running through project timelines. Senior Project Manager at 31. My name on the org chart 1 level below the director. I texted my husband from the car. Big news, calling you in 5. He replied almost instantly. Driving, talk later. I told myself it was fine. He was busy. I'd tell him properly at dinner. The drive home from downtown to our place in Montgomery took 25 minutes on a good day. I spent the whole thing rehearsing how I'd say it, what wine I'd open, whether this was finally the moment we'd seriously start talking about the house we'd been circling for 3 years. The pre-approval was already sitting in my email. The promotion meant I could carry it myself if we needed to, though we never talked about it that way. We were a team. That was the whole point. I got home before he did. I changed out of my work clothes, put pasta on, opened a bottle of Cab Franc we'd been saving for something, set the table properly with the good placemats, instead of just dropping plates on the counter like we usually did. He came in at 6:45. Work boots still on, which he knew I hated, a grocery bag in one hand and his phone in the other, thumb scrolling. Something smells good, he said without looking up. I got promoted today. He set the bag on the counter. Still looking at his phone. Yeah, you mentioned you were up for something. No, I mean it happened today. Senior PM, it's official. He finally looked over. A nod. That's good, babe. More money? 30% raise. Plus they're giving me lead on the Bridgeland mixed-use project. Cool. He opened the fridge, put the groceries away, the things he'd picked up. Beer, lunch meat, a bag of chips. His back to me the whole time. That'll be a lot of extra hours. Hey. I stood there, holding my wine glass. The good placemats suddenly felt stupid. Probably some, yeah, but it's a huge opportunity. He turned around. And for the first time I noticed something in his expression that I couldn't immediately name. Not annoyance exactly. More like the look someone gets when they're about to say something they've been sitting on for a while. So listen, he said, I need to talk to you about something. Hope is a strange thing. Even when every cell in your body is starting to go cold, hope keeps insisting. Maybe he has news too. Maybe this is a good thing. I sat down. He stayed standing, leaning against the counter, arms crossed. My brother called today. He paused. He and Kelsey split up, like properly. She took the kids to her mom's place in Red Deer. I'm sorry, I said. That's awful. Are the kids okay? That's the thing. He's not doing great. He's been staying in their place, but she's keeping it in the settlement, so he's gonna need somewhere to go in about 6 weeks. I waited, because I already knew where this was going, and I wanted to be wrong. I told him he could stay here for a bit. I put my glass down very carefully. You told him. He needs family right now, Renata. My name. The full version, like punctuation. How long is a bit? He shrugged, till he gets on his feet. Find something, probably 4, 5 months, maybe 6 months. In our 800-square-foot condo in Montgomery. My office was our second bedroom. I used it every single day. I had clients who called before 8 a.m. and a standing desk I'd spent $400 on because my back had started giving me grief from the old setup. He can have the office, my husband said, already anticipating this. You can set up in the living room. It's not a big deal. It's a big deal to me. His jaw tightened. It's my brother. I understand that. And I'm sorry he's going through something hard. But you made this decision without asking me. We share this space. We share our finances, and you just committed our home for 6 months without a single conversation. He pushed off the counter. You would have said no. Maybe I would have had concerns. Maybe we could have figured something out together. But you didn't give me that chance. Because you always make everything complicated. The pasta was still cooking. I could hear it behind me, the soft sound of water at a simmer, and it struck me as almost funny, that normal domestic sound underneath this very not normal conversation. What do you mean I make things complicated? He waved a hand. You always have to analyze everything, talk it to death. Make a spreadsheet. He said the last word like it was embarrassing. Some things just need a decision, Renata. My brother needs help. We're helping him. That's it. When does he arrive? He looked at 3 weeks. 3 weeks. I found out about this in the same breath as my husband dismissed my promotion. In the same kitchen, where I'd opened a good bottle of wine and set the proper placemats. I picked up my glass and walked to the living room and sat down. He didn't follow me. After a while, he served himself some pasta from the pot and ate standing at the kitchen counter, looking at his phone, and I sat on the couch and thought about the 6 years it had taken me to get to this moment, and how it was being marked. His brother arrived on a Sunday. My husband had spent the previous 3 weekends clearing out my office, stacking my things in the corner of our bedroom, assembling a fold-out from IKEA that cost $140 and wobbled when you sat on it. He presented all of this as if he were doing me a favor. See? Plenty of space. His brother was 35 and heartbroken in the particular way of a man who has never had to think too hard about his own comfort before. He came with 2 hockey bags, a guitar he never played, a case of cocaine, and a very specific set of opinions about how the TV remote should be managed. The first week, I told myself it was fine. Transition period. Everyone needed time. The second week, he started leaving his dishes in the sink overnight. I mentioned it once, politely. He nodded and kept doing it. The third week, I came home from a 10-hour day on the Bridgeland project, my first major assignment as senior PM, the one that was supposed to be the proof that I'd earned this, and found him and my husband on the couch playing video games at full volume at 9:30 on a Wednesday night. I had a 7 a.m. site meeting. My standing desk was in the closet. I was working from my laptop balanced on the edge of our bed. I asked my husband if we could talk privately. He followed me to the bedroom with the energy of someone being pulled away from something important. I need the office back, I said. Not forever, but I need a dedicated workspace. I'm leading a major project. I have calls at all hours. I can't do this from the bed. He doesn't have anywhere else to sleep, Renata. He could look at bachelor suites. The Beltline has affordable options. There are places in Forest Lawn that are reasonable. He's not ready. What does that mean? He means he's still dealing with everything. The separation, the kids. He needs time. And what about what I need? He looked at me for a long moment. You got a promotion. You're fine. I want you to hear what you just said. I heard what I said. He shrugged. You're not the one whose marriage just ended. You're not the one sleeping on a fold-out. You can handle working from the bedroom for a few months. He's family. That's how this works. He left me in the bedroom and I heard him laugh at something on the TV 30 seconds later. I sat on the edge of the bed in the dark. The pasta from the first night, the wine I'd opened, the placemats. I thought about the 6 years, and then I thought about all the years before that. My student loans paid off with money I'd earned myself, the car I'd bought without help, the way I'd carried us through the 8 months he'd been unemployed when his trades company folded. I had never once made him feel guilty for that. I had never once suggested it should work in my favor, because I thought we were a team. I opened my laptop. I opened our joint bank account. 3 days ago there was a transfer I hadn't seen. $600 to his brother. I went back further. There had been 2 others. $450 in March. $320 in February. I'd been paying most of our bills, our rent, our groceries, our utilities. He knew that, he had known that, and still moved money from our joint account to his brother without mentioning it. I closed the laptop. I stared at the ceiling. In the morning, I called my friend from university, the one who'd gone to law school while I went into project management. She was a family and civil litigator in Edmonton now. I hadn't needed her professional advice before. I needed it now. Tell me what I need to know, I said. We've been together for 4 years, married for 2. He moved someone into our shared residence without consent. He's transferring money from our joint account. What are my options? She asked me a few questions. Whether my name was on the lease. It was equally. Whether I had records of the transfers. I did. Whether he had become physically intimidating. Not yet, I said. But the language is starting. Okay, she said. The good news is you're in a strong position. The bad news is it's going to feel like dismantling something you built. Are you ready for that? I looked around our bedroom. At the standing desk in the closet. At his brother's guitar case leaning against the wall because there was no room for it anywhere else. I'm already dismantling it, I said. I'd rather do it on my terms. She told me to open a separate bank account immediately. She told me to document the transfers, screenshot everything, keep a log. She told me not to confront him about the money yet. She told me to change my direct deposit and move my savings, not dramatically, methodically, quietly. I spent my lunch break at a TD branch on 8th Avenue and opened a new account. Just mine. My name alone on the paperwork. I had the direct deposit changed by the end of the day. He didn't notice for 2 weeks. When he did, I was in the middle of the Bridgeland project's most critical phase, coordinating between the developer, the city planners, and 3 separate subcontractors who had conflicting schedules and, I suspected, a shared hatred of each other. I was managing 12 people and 2 timelines and a budget that required daily attention. I was doing this from our bedroom, on a laptop, sitting on the bed, because my desk was still in the closet. He came into the bedroom one evening while I was on a call and stood in the doorway with his arms crossed until I wrapped up. I recognized the posture. Your paycheck didn't go into the joint account. I set my laptop aside. I changed my direct deposit. Why would you do that? Because you've been moving money from the joint account to your brother without telling me. He went very still. That money was for family. It was our money. Money I mostly put in. For bills we share. You don't get to reallocate it unilaterally. Unilaterally, he repeated, and his voice had gone somewhere flat and ugly. That's a word you learned at work, is it? It's a word that describes what you did. I'm trying to help my brother. The man is losing his mind. His kids are in Red Deer. He doesn't even get to see them during the week. You want me to cut him off financially too, on top of everything? I want you to talk to me. I want to make decisions together. That's all I've ever wanted. You make things so hard, Renata. His voice was rising now. You're so focused on your career, your project, your promotion that you can't see anything else. My brother is hurting and you're talking to me about spreadsheets and direct deposits. Some things matter more than money. Tell me what you've done for me lately, I said. Not for us. For me specifically. Name one thing in the past 3 months. He opened his mouth, closed it. He looked genuinely thrown, the way someone looks when they reach for something and it's not there. The guitar case was still against our wall. My standing desk was still in the closet. I stood up. I'm going to stay at my colleague's place for a few days. I need some space to think. If you leave, he said, voice low, you'd better think about what you're walking away from. I'm not chasing you. I picked up the bag I had quietly packed that morning and walked past him through the living room. His brother looked up from the couch with an expression of studied neutrality. I didn't look at either of them. Outside it was cool and it smelled like rain. Calgary rain, that particular clean smell that comes off the mountains. I sat in my car for 3 minutes. Then I drove to my colleague's apartment near Kensington, where she had a pull-out that was better than the IKEA fold-out in my own home, and I slept better than I had in weeks. My friend walked me through everything methodically. She had a way of organizing horror into numbered points that I was deeply grateful for. 1. Because we were married, the shared assets, including the joint account, were subject to equal division under Alberta's Matrimonial Property Act, but his transfers to a third party could be classified as dissipation of matrimonial property, which weakened his position. 2. The apartment was a joint lease. Neither of us could remove the other, but I could establish that I had vacated due to an untenable living situation, which protected me. 3. The fact that he had moved another adult into shared space without consent, altered the financial arrangements without consent, and created conditions that interfered with my professional functioning. All of that was documented and relevant. 4. I needed to be boring, stable, the one who sent emails instead of texts, the one who went through proper channels. I needed to be so completely reasonable that the contrast with his behavior would be obvious without me pointing it out. I am extraordinarily good at being organized, I told her. She smiled. I know. I've seen your project plans. I moved into a short-term furnished suite in Eau Claire. My company had a corporate account with the building for out-of-town clients, and my director let me use it at cost while the situation was ongoing. It had a proper desk by the window and very fast Wi-Fi, and I could see the Bow River if I leaned slightly to the left. I threw myself into Bridgeland. The project became the cleanest, most precise version of myself. Every decision documented, every email CC'd to the appropriate people. Every timeline hit. My director noticed. She asked me to sit in on a conversation about the next phase, a larger development in East Village that would be my file if Bridgeland finished well. I was senior PM on paper. I was starting to feel like it in my actual body. My husband called approximately 14 times the first week. I let the first 3 go to voicemail. The messages started clipped and annoyed and slowly became something else. He didn't understand what was happening. He thought I was overreacting. He thought I was punishing him for trying to help his family. He said he missed me. He said the place felt weird without me. He did not say I was wrong to move him in without asking. He did not say I should not have moved our money. The calls were logged, the voicemails were saved. My friend had named a folder in my cloud storage. She had a very dry sense of humor. His brother texted me once. Just a heads up, he said. My brother is pretty torn up. I don't know what happened exactly, but I hope you guys can work it out. I screenshot it, saved it, and did not respond. In the third week, my husband sent a message asking if we could meet, neutral ground. He suggested a coffee shop in Marta Loop, one we'd gone to for years. I consulted my friend. She said I could go if I felt safe and kept it brief. Bring nothing, sign nothing, commit to nothing. I wore my good coat, the one I'd bought myself after a particularly brutal project the previous winter, charcoal wool, good buttons, the kind of coat that makes you feel like yourself on a hard day. He was already there when I arrived. He'd gotten a table in the back. He stood up when he saw me, which felt both awkward and a little heartbreaking, the way someone tries to perform the person they used to be. We sat down. He wrapped both hands around his coffee cup. I want to fix this, he said. I know I messed up. I should have talked to you about Marcus staying with us. I know that. He was my brother, and I panicked, and I thought you'd say no. I might have, I said. Or we might have figured out another option together. We'll never know. I want you to come home. I looked at him. At this man I'd married 2 years ago in a small ceremony in Banff, just us and 12 people who actually mattered. I had thought we wanted the same thing. Is Marcus still there? He's still looking for a place. Then there's nothing to come home to. My home became a space I couldn't work in, sleep in, or exist in without compromising my professional and personal functioning, and that happened because of a series of decisions you made without me. He leaned forward. You talk like I'm a client. Like this is a project. Maybe because that's the only way I can get through this without crying in a coffee shop in Marta Loop, I thought. But I didn't say that. I said, what's your actual proposal? He looked down. He'd brought a folded piece of paper. He smoothed it out on the table. It was handwritten, which I was surprised by. He'd actually put thought into something. I want us to try counseling, he said. Like, real counseling. Weekly. I've already looked into a place on 17th. They have evening appointments. And I want Marcus out of the apartment by the end of next month. I'll help him find something. I noticed he'd said nothing about the money. What about the transfers from our joint account? His expression flickered. I'll pay it back. All of it. How? You still have a separate account. He didn't know I knew this, a savings account he'd had before we married that he'd never mentioned merging. I didn't ask how I knew. He went still. That's mine. From before. It's not the issue. The issue is you took from ours. I'll pay it back, going forward. We sat for a moment. Outside, 2 women were walking by with a golden retriever pulling enthusiastically toward the door. I heard you got a big new project, he said. East Village or something, from Marcus. He heard you talking. I have the East Village file, yes. That's huge, Renata. He said it was something genuine, a brief window where I could see the man from Banff. I'm proud of you. I should have said that more. It would have meant something before, I said. I know. I picked up my coffee. I wasn't going to tell him that I'd already spoken to my friend professionally, not just as a friend. I wasn't going to tell him that my direct deposit would stay separate, regardless of any agreement we reached. I wasn't going to tell him that the folder in my cloud storage now had 4 subfolders. I wasn't going to tell him any of that because my friend had said, be boring, be calm, be the reasonable one. I'll think about counseling, I said, but Marcus needs to have a firm move-out date, not end of next month, a date. In writing. He blinked. In writing? It's how I process things. You said so yourself. He almost smiled. Fair enough. I drove back to Eau Claire with the Bow River glittering to my left and the mountains just visible in the gap between buildings, and I felt, not hopeful exactly, but clear. Clear in the way you feel after a week of rain when the sky finally does something decisive. I called my friend that night. How'd it go? He suggested counseling. He said he'd have his brother out by end of next month. You held the line? I asked for a written date. She laughed. That's my girl. But I also, and I didn't plan this, I told her about the moment when he said he was proud of me. And I told her I wasn't sure what to do with that. She was quiet for a second. Renata, pride isn't the same as respect. A person can be proud of you the way they're proud of a car that runs well. That's not the same as treating you like a partner. I sat with that for a long time after we hung up. The counseling appointment was on a Thursday evening, a clinic on 17th Avenue with plants in the waiting room, and a therapist named Dr. Okafor who had a way of letting silence do the work that made me immediately trust her. She asked us both to describe the last year in one sentence. My husband said, I felt like I was always trying to catch up, I said. I felt like I was carrying something and no one could see the weight. She wrote both things down. She didn't react. She just nodded and said, "Those two experiences are not incompatible. Let's talk about how they happened at the same time." We went for 8 weeks. Some sessions were clarifying. Some were difficult in ways I hadn't anticipated. I cried in the 4th session, the one where I talked about coming home with the promotion news and setting the good placemats and how none of it had mattered. I hadn't expected to cry. It came from somewhere below the project plans and the documented transfers and the organized cloud storage folders. It came from the actual person underneath all of that, the one who had wanted to be celebrated and hadn't been. Dr. Okafor looked at me and said, "You've been managing this situation very skillfully. That's a real strength. But I want to ask, when do you let yourself not manage?" I didn't have an answer. Marcus moved out on the 14th of the month. He found a bachelor suite in Ramsey, close to a buddy of his from the trades. My husband helped him move on a Saturday. He came home that evening, quieter than usual, and made dinner without being asked. A proper dinner, chicken and vegetables and rice, and set the actual table. I moved back to our apartment 2 weeks after that. My standing desk went back into the office. The fold-out went to Marcus. The guitar case went to Marcus. It wasn't fixed. It wasn't the way it had been before, which maybe was part of the problem. Before wasn't good enough either, but it was different. My husband had started asking me things before deciding them. Small things at first, then larger ones. He told me in counseling that he had grown up in a house where decisions happened to people, not with them, and that he had replicated that without realizing it. I believe him. I also believe that understanding where something comes from doesn't automatically change what it does to you. Dr. Okafor said that was a very healthy and accurate thing to believe. The East Village project launched in the spring. It was the largest file I'd ever led, 4 residential towers, commercial ground floor, a public plaza component that required 3 rounds of community consultation. My team was 8 people. I trusted all of them. The work was hard and specific and mine in a way that felt earned. On the day we broke ground, my director took me aside. She said she'd been talking to the VP of development. There was a national initiative coming, a firm-wide strategy project that would require someone with strong project leadership and stakeholder management. Someone who could be a senior voice at the table. She'd put my name forward. I drove home in the early May evening with the windows down and the city looking exactly like itself. The skyline against the pink sky, the Bow River catching the light, everything exactly where it was supposed to be. My husband was making dinner when I got home. He looked up when I came in. "Good day?" "I might be getting a national project," I said. "She mentioned it today." Nothing confirmed, but she mentioned it. He put down the spoon, walked over, hugged me. A real one, both arms, the kind where you can tell the person isn't already thinking about something else. "That's incredible," he said into my hair. "That's because you're brilliant at what you do." It landed differently than nice. It landed like something true. We ate dinner at the table. We talked about the project and about his week and about whether we should finally look at the house in Hillhurst that had come back on the market. I said I wanted to wait until the national project was confirmed before making a financial commitment that size. He said, "That made sense." He said, "Let's make a spreadsheet." I looked at him. He was smiling. "That's the word she uses," he said, "when she's right about something." "I know," I said. "I've always been right about spreadsheets." He laughed. And it was easy, the way things are easy when they've been worked for, when both people in the room know what it cost to get there and have decided it was worth it anyway. The house in Hillhurst came back on the market again in September. We made an offer. It was accepted on a Tuesday afternoon, and I found out by email while I was in a site meeting and had to excuse myself to walk around the corner and breathe for a second. I called him right away. Not a text, a call. He answered on the second ring. "Well, we got it." A beat of silence. Then, "Holy hell," I laughed. That same embarrassing laugh that bounced off walls. I didn't care. I had earned this. The promotion and the project and the house and the husband who was still learning and the woman I had insisted on being even when it was inconvenient for everyone around me. "We got it," I said again. "Come home. Let's open the good wine."